Hey world! Welcome back to Dragon Fairy History. I'm your host Elijah, and this is my co-host.
Mary.
And today we will be talking about the history of Loki. For real this time. I
Yeah, this
don't
one.
think many people appreciated the prank video.
Oh no, I really liked it.
I had fun making it, but I think that's because we're evil.
Maybe just
Which
inner
is kind of
nature.
on theme for today, it's April, all about the April Fools, the pranking, the mischief. That is exactly what Loki would do. Loki would definitely rickroll people, right?
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah, I think
100%.
he would do that. Um, but before we get into it, we gotta say a fun fact about ourselves. Would you like to start?
Yeah, I can start. So last night I watched the Bee movie.
God, that's amazing. I'm sure it was a great experience.
Oh, it was wonderful. It was such a classic. It's timeless.
Alrighty. Well, my fun fact is I am super nerdy about Norse mythology.
Wow, how on topic of you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I actually think Norse mythology is better than Greek mythology, which I get a lot of hate for because people are crazy about Greek mythology.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just it's I don't know. Like it's just a bunch of rapists. Like an
Yeah.
incest. Like how is that fun? I feel like the point of the Greek gods is to not be fun. Like the point of Greek mythology is everyone sucks.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Yeah,
I can see why you like it more.
yeah. But I don't know. Some Percy Jackson fans might come at me for that. But to get us started, introduction to Loki. If you somehow don't know who Loki is, he is um a Norse god of mischief and deceit and whatever comes with mischief. Um he's his origins start in, the Viking age of like Norse mythology and have been converted into comic books in the 20th century and now has been converted to movies in the 21st century. So he has many forms and has been around for a long time. Um So I'll like start off by talking about the mythology and of him and then go into like the comics and movies. So to start off, Loki is a prankster. In the Norse mythology, he pranks his fellow gods and his opponents. And, you know, we all know Loki as like the brother of Thor, right? But in the mythology, he's actually blood brothers with Odin, which, because, he is born, he's born from like a giant or a Jotun and from a goddess Leve, but he has this blood ritual where like him and Odin mix blood and become like brothers, kind
What?
of in bond. So yeah, that's kind of how Loki got linked to the gods, basically. Um, so he's known for like good and bad things. He has this sharp, cunning tongue and high charisma, and his intelligence is what makes him different from the other gods. Because back in the Viking age, like strength and like masculinity was so like valued, and it's like you're valuable only as like a warrior, and like being a warrior was like the highest standard of masculinity. But like Loki is not that at all. He deviates from the hyper masculine like Viking stereotype. And that's probably why in a lot of tales he's like vilified. Um, but it's also hard to interpret old tales because they were told orally. The Vikings didn't write down like myths and legends. They told it orally, and so they're only written down like by Christians hundreds of years after Christianity took over Norway. So a lot of the stories might even be biased and like changed to fit like a Christian lens or something. So it's definitely very hard to tell like what's the true mythology and not. Um, the first recorded Norse mythology was written by Snorri Sturluson in 1220 AD, which Viking Age ended in like the 900s, so like hundreds of years was after Christianity took over. Um, so yeah, that's like some background, little history of like Norse mythology and how it's been written. Um, but Loki himself, son of Farbati, who was a Jotun, and then the goddess Leve, also known as a pop jazzy singer that we know today. We all know Leve. I like to listen to her music. Um, and Loki actually has a lot of kids.
Oh,
Um,
really?
and by two different women. He has an official wife, Sigyn, and they have their two kids, Nari and Vali. But then he uh gets, involved with another shapeshifter like him. I think her name is Ar Unger Bo. I can't I can't say her name. But he has three very strange children. He
Strange.
has Fenrir, which is a wolf. So
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I'm sure they shapeshifted and then did the deed.
I guess they were into that.
I, Vikings, am I right?
Crazy.
Um, and then he also has a child who is named Jormungandr, which is a Midgard serpent.
Interesting.
Fun fact about the serpent is it circles Earth. It's like this huge serpent that circles Earth or Midgard, and I think it keeps like the world in balance or something. And then his third child is Hel, who is the ruler of the afterlife. But I think Hel was added by Christians in like the mythos because hell is also in the Bible, like the underworld. And so I feel like that's too big of a coincidence. So I have my theory that hell was just added later in the mythology. But in the comics, Hel became Hela, which instead of being the daughter of Loki, um is the like daughter of Odin, which wait, I think I got that wrong. I think that's only in the MCU, but not in the comics. In the comics, I think Hel is Loki's daughter.
Interesting.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, as I said before, Loki is a shapeshifter, which I feel like has very genderqueer undertones.
Yeah, that's what I read about.
And yeah, so he's kind of, can be interpreted as gender fluid because in the mythology, he often shifts into women or like animals, like any kind of creature. So it can be seen that like he just, is non-binary or genderqueer. Um, but even though Loki gets himself or got himself in trouble a lot, he also used his charm to get out of it. Like, there's this fun story I read where Loki cuts off the hair of Sif, which is one of the goddesses, and before Thor like unleashes his anger on Loki, Loki got the dark elves to replace Sif's hair with golden hair. And so, even better
Yeah.
than before. And so all the gods were like, okay, we're not mad anymore. That was actually pretty cool. So, he's like, he has like this good side of him where he does make things right when he does wrong things out of malice. Um, but in the mythology towards the end he like becomes like the main enemy of the gods when like in the beginning he was kind of like the brother of Odin and like a friend of the gods who was just a little goofy. But uh the story of because Loki kind of started Ragnarok, which is the end of the world, the apocalypse, and it's honestly a crazy story. Like Loki um like kills Balder, who is the son of Odin and the god of light, because Balder's mother Frigg made everything promise not to harm Balder except the mistletoe. And the gods were like playing around with Balder and like shooting arrows at him, and obviously Balder was like invincible and he wasn't hurt by any of it. But Loki laced one of the arrows with mistletoe, and so that's how Balder died. And Odin and the gods felt so betrayed by Loki, and they punished him. And this turmoil led to this huge battle where Loki led an army of Jotuns against the gods. And in a final battle, they all just died. They all died, and Midgard crumbled, and that was just the end of the world. It was it's a pretty intense story. Um, but yeah, that's like the end of like the gods and like the end of Loki's story in the Viking Age for now. Um, but yeah, do you have any like comments or questions about or anything you found interesting about any of that?
No, but I do have some fun facts
Okay. What are your
about
fun
Loki.
facts?
Um, okay, so well, along with one of your points, one of my fun facts is that Loki is gender fluid and pansexual.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so
Yay.
what?
Yay.
It
That sounds pretty gay.
does. It sounds pretty gay to me. We love a gay icon.
Mm-hmm.
And Loki's first official appearance in the Marvel Comics was actually in 1962, but he made an earlier appearance in something called the Timely Comics, which later became Marvel in 1949. and he looks like completely different here. He had like a bright red crew cut and a pink suit and shoulder pads, which is extremely different from his current
Yeah.
look, as you can see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. Imagine Loki wearing pink.
I could never imagine that now.
I feel like it would look wrong.
Yeah.
So
I
wrong.
actually didn't see a picture when I read this, but like I just want to know what that looked like.
I think I came across that. Yeah, when I was doing research, I came across um the OG Loki
Like
was
the
it did not
original.
go well. It was like, nah,
Yeah.
I think they made a good decision on crossing that one out.
Yeah. I agree. I think he looks really cool now.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Especially with the horns. Like I love the big horns.
Oh yeah. And you can really see them in like yours.
Yeah.
With the little butterfly on it.
Yeah. Um I actually like the comics do take basically the same like mythology as like the OG Norse mythology, but they did change a few things if you haven't noticed that Loki in the comics is Thor's brother rather than Odin's brother, and Hela is Loki's sister rather than um like daughter. I forgot the word daughter. But I think that's only in the MCU that they made her his sister,
Yeah.
technically. Um, but also, I would, Loki being gender fluid, there is like this whole arc in the comics where I think Loki died, but then reincarnated as Lady Loki. So he like became a woman, and Thor literally was calling Lady Loki his sister. So it's
Interesting.
kind of, first of all, Thor being like a very supportive and accepting brother is like amazing. We love
Great.
supportive,
So
queer friendly
family.
brothers.
Yeah.
But it also is very canon. That was like the start of like, you know, basically Loki coming out as gender fluid. Um, and I actually have this funny quote by Loki where they say, I don't identify as gender fluid. I am gender fluid. I identify as a bitch.
Loki's so real for that.
Yeah, that's honestly such a vibe. If someone ever says that to me, I will be their friend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds really fun.
Um, and Loki's influence with the Avengers is like pretty huge because technically Loki is the reason the Avengers were established.
That was one of my fun facts.
Well, would you like to talk more on that?
Yeah, I can actually share my full fun fact.
All
So
right.
in the comics, Loki was inadvertently the reason the Avengers came together. His original plan was to like use illusion to like trick Hulk into a rampage and fight against Thor because he had like this like hatred towards Thor. But instead, this like leads Thor to Hulk, and they end up teaming up with Ant-Man, Wasp, and Iron Man to defeat Loki, forming the Avengers.
Pretty epic. I actually have an Avengers comic collection where it collects like the first few Avengers comics, and so I got to read that story, and yeah, it was pretty cool. Another thing I wanted to say was that Loki starts out as the main villain of Thor and the Avengers in the comics and in the MCU, but in recent times because he like reincarnates a lot. Like he dies a lot, reincarnates a lot, and that's why there's so many versions of Loki. You know, he there's like the OG classic 60s Loki, then there's the lady Loki, and then there's kid Loki, and then there's like teenager Loki, where there's like so many versions of Loki. And over time, Loki slowly becomes like more of an anti-hero. Like he becomes one of the good guys and really funny and he has like that same anti-hero story arc in the MCU too. And also he dies a lot in the movies.
Wow, he's just dying all the time.
He just die, die, die. But somehow it's always a trick. It's always a trick. I remember reading one of his comics where he was like flirting. I think he was low key flirting with this guy, and he was like saying that he has had relationships with both men and women. And for me, I think that was the moment he like became canonically bisexual or pansexual. Um, but it was just like funny reading him flirt with a guy because the guy was like not interested in him at all. And you know Loki. Loki's just being goofy. And actually, I was like looking into who has Loki canonically been like in love with, and he actually hasn't had that many romances. Like,
Really?
I think his biggest lover is himself. Like, I think,
Self-love.
yeah, I think he, prioritizes himself and
Mm.
is just in a deep relationship with himself, you
Oh,
know?
yeah.
Oh, yeah. The only person I think he truly was in love with was Amora, who is the Enchantress, which in, the classic Loki comics, he like would team up with her a lot and they would wreak havoc.
I know in like my reading about it, I don't know how true this is. This is just in an article, but apparently they like said he was pansexual because he was also in love with different species at some point. I was like, they didn't go into any
Well,
more.
I mean, how there is only one way he could father a wolf or mother a wolf or give birth to a wolf and a serpent. You
There's only
know,
one way, yeah.
yeah, I put two and two together, Mary.
That's true.
Oh my goodness. I actually, oh my God, that reminds me. I've read like every single Loki comic, I swear. There was um, a comic I read where Loki is on some mission where he has to work with these frost giants. And, these giants are like giant. Like they're not like big people, they're colossal. And Loki is just like, sitting on the shoulder of one of them. And uh, I think they like were talking. I think the frost giant had a son, but the son, he said, because the son was like came from a human or not, or maybe like an Asgardian, just someone the size of Loki. And Loki was asking him, how is that even possible? And the frost giant just answered, love can make anything happen.
I guess.
With a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
It was so funny. Oh my God. That was one of the most memorable. uh lines I have from Loki comics. Just I don't know if this counts as canon, but I did read an actual it wasn't a comic book, it was an actual novel about Loki,
Hmm.
which was interesting.
Interesting. That's cool.
It was like an origin story. It like took place in like Victorian London, and in that book he like was having relations with Amora, but he also fell in love with a boy in that book. But it came to a tragic end though, so
Oh,
sad.
he's
But
not been having the best luck.
yeah, but that's I think, one of the few recorded men Loki has been in love with. But again, it doesn't matter who Loki has been with, because at the end of the day, he's gonna choose himself.
So true.
So, or Thor,
Yeah.
but mostly himself.
Mm,
Yeah,
totally.
yeah. Um, but I just wanted to conclude the story of Loki with, just to sum up everything we've talked about, in the myths and the comics, Loki has always deviated from the hyper-masculine gods that value strength and fighting. His intelligence and magic have made him stand out. And I think his magic is like a metaphor for creativity. So it's not just like his intelligence or his sharp tongue, but his creative mind that strays from like hyper masculinity. And his shape-shifting ability can be interpreted as transitioning genders, especially since he often changes into a woman. And yeah, though I think Loki is hella queer, and that's my argument. Would you agree, Mary?
I would agree. Case closed.
Case closed. Case closed on that. Yeah. Do you have any more fun facts, Mary?
Yes, I do. I actually have two more fun facts to share with you today.
Awesome.
So I found that Loki has like a variety of powers that have not been shown yet. That he has something called the speed of thought that allows him to think faster than lightning, so he can respond like really quickly in battle.
Oh, there you
And
go.
yeah,
That
and
explains a lot.
yeah, and also because he's a frost giant, he can change the size of his body to like shrink or grow into a giant. Like Ant-Man, he can like shrink down.
Ooh,
It's kind of cool.
yeah.
And then I also found that apparently in like Loki's first appearance in the Marvel comics, where he was introduced as like Thor's sworn enemy, that it actually stated that Loki's powers don't work in water, but it like was never mentioned again after this for some reason. So it's like tea.
Ooh, yeah. That's so funny. That's why water.
Yeah, like like why is water like his kryptonite?
Yeah. But then they made him like OP, like overpowered by not giving him a weakness like that.
Unless he still has that weakness and just like nobody knows, but then someone's gonna like discover it one day.
Yeah, you don't often see Loki in water, I've noticed.
Maybe
Maybe,
there's a reason.
maybe there's a reason.
Someone needs to fight him at the ocean and see what happens.
He needs to fight Namor. Do you know Namor?
No.
He's the Marvel version of Aquaman,
Yeah.
but I think Namor is m more of a bitch. In like the OG 1960s comic collection I was reading, um, you know, because Loki was trying to get Hulk to fight Thor, but after that failed, or I actually kind of succeeded, but after Hulk ran away or whatever, Loki then, like in the next issue, teamed up with Namor to like fight the Avengers.
It's
It
funny.
was crazy. Like Namor was like the second OG villain against the Avengers.
Wow, crazy.
Yeah, Namor does not have the best history. Yeah. Also, I think Namor, I think the Fantastic Four, right? You know how like Sue and Reed Richards are like married. So Sue actually had an affair, low key, an affair with Namor.
Tea.
Yeah, I think Namor wanted to make her like the ocean goddess or ocean queen or whatever. Um, yeah, I don't read Fantastic Four much. This was just kind of stuff I found out. So I don't know what happened there, but just some spicy tea.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what happens there either. That's cool.
Yeah. I hope you appreciate all the little, the times I say, my utilization of low key, in my speech.
I appreciate it very much.
I want to be on theme and
Yeah.
I'm just I'm low key kind of tired right now, honestly.
Oh my God, like low-key, me too. Like,
Yeah. Yes. But any last thoughts on Loki?
no.
All right. Well, I guess we shall end this video then. Thanks for watching this low-key episode. We're feeling just very low-key tired right now, and so, we're feeling a little goofy. Do you have anything to say, Mary?
I think you guys should just low-key subscribe and comment what you want to see next.
Yeah, you should low-key do that, honestly.
Yeah, low-key.
Yeah. Oh, I'm like low-key hungry right now, and I need some food.
Yeah, low-key. You should like get that food. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, have a good day. Bye bye.